We've reached the third installment in the VHS franchise with VHS Viral, so let's rank the segments. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having a good one today. I'm the Movie Ranker, and today I'm going to be ranking all 5 segments from VHS Viral from worst to best. And oof, did we go downhill with quality with this one. I quite enjoyed the first 2 VHS movies, but this one is a dumpster fire if you ask me. I can't believe this was a theatrical release. And in the theaters, there was only 4 segments. That's with the wraparound story. But on Blu-ray, they put in the one that they cut, Gorgeous Vortex, which I'll also be including in my list. So make sure you drop your favorite segments from worst to best in the comment section here. And let's get right into it. So coming in the last place, and this was a tough decision to make, at number 5, I had to go with Gorgeous Vortex. Now this is the one that didn't make the theatrical release, but they added in. It's after the credits on the Blu-ray, and I can see why they cut it. I mean, for one thing, it's not even a found footage movie, which is the whole thing with these VHS movies have anthologies about found footage, but no, this one's not found footage. It has no dialogue. It's very experimental, almost like an art house film, if you will. It's pretty incoherent what's going on. You follow this girl, and she has these visions and nightmares, and it just keeps showing random clips of things like dead bodies around the town, and there's this cult following her, and nothing's explained because there's no dialogue for one thing, but just the way it's shown is in a very convoluted way. And since there's no real narrative here, I had to do some research to see what the hell did I just watch. I was just so confused. And apparently this girl is a serial killer, and this cult was just following her. And yeah, I don't really know what happens. They end up meeting in the end, and there's this weird demonic puppet thing. I still have no idea what I've watched even after doing research. This is an easily not a movie for me. It's a 1 out of 10. And yeah, it's just confusing and dull and just made no sense. Up next at number 4, I chose Bone Storm. Now, this one gave the other one competition for worst segment because this one is terrible as well. I get that these are like found footage films, so they're supposed to look a little cheaper in that, but this one just felt straight up amateurish. Half of the segment is just filming these kids skateboarding, and it's pretty boring if you ask me. And then the second half, they end up going to Tijuana, the film, and they end up in the middle of this cult that like tries sacrificing them or something, and it's just so cheap though. The effects are god awful. The editing is awful too. Some of the worst I've ever seen. And I understand to have bad effects if you don't have the budget, but they just overuse them in this one. It's just nonstop, especially once like the weird cult comes into play. Yeah, just not a fan of this one. It's not scary. It's just god awful, if you ask me. And it's all this big build up to give birth to this type of demon or something, some type of monster that comes out of the drain storm or whatever it is in this concrete place where they're skateboarding. And in the end, you don't even see it when it comes out. It just eats one of the guys. And the only cool thing about this one that probably put it not in last place is we do get a cool shot of the monster eating the camera guy, so the camera's like going down his throat. But like I said, you don't get to see the monster, and it probably would have looked stupid anyway given this story. But yeah, wasn't a fan of Bone Storm. It was just stupid. Up next at number 3, I had to give it to the wraparound story Vicious Circles. And if you've been paying attention in my VHS series I've been going through, the wraparound story was always the weakest part. And this is still weak. It's just that there's so many weak segments in here. It didn't make last place for me this time. But still, I give this like a 2 out of 10. It's still that bad. It fall at the starting, it's nice. I really enjoy following Kevin, this guy who can't stop filming his girlfriend, and he's kind of using the camera as a way to cope with his like abusive grandmother who's always yelling at him and stuff where he lives. And all that's kind of interesting. And then he wants to get famous through filming stuff. So when there's a car chase going on near his neighborhood, he wants to run outside and try to capture it. And it's this ice cream truck running away from the cops. It's on the run. And that's all kind of interesting up until that point. And then his girlfriend ends up disappearing, going off towards the ice cream truck or something, and he's trying to get her back. And it just keeps cutting to these other segments, and every time it cuts back to this wraparound, we get a little bit of Kevin running around, but and then it just feels unfocused because then they're just focusing on like other people in the neighborhood. Like one part we get these Hispanics having a barbecue, and it kind of feels so out of place. Another time it cuts to this girl in a limo who's doing a strip tease or whatever for this other guy with a camera. You find out that he's part of the adult industry and used old footage of her before to make money, exploited her, so she's trying to get revenge back at him. And it's just kind of all over the place, like I said, unfocused. And when we do get to find out the whole Kevin story at the end, he finally finds the ice cream truck parked there, and it kind of tries to tie in the other stories, how if you watch these VHSs you go insane or whatever. And it was being broadcast worldwide by the end when he pushed upload after watching his girlfriend like smash her face against the wall or something. It was pretty dumb. I didn't like the conclusion. You find the phone like in her mouth. That was kind of cool. She was dead. But yeah, was not a fan of this wraparound story. I felt like if we would have focused more on Kevin and his things the entire time, it would have been more enjoyable. But cutting to these other groups in this neighborhood just made it feel like it was all over the place. It's weird because this wraparound was so dull yet hectic at the same time with the camera movements and stuff. But yeah, it just wasn't for me. Up next, at number 2, I have to give it to Dante the Great. Now, even though this is number 2, it's still not good, but I'm more mixed on this one. It's fairly cheesy given the concept of this magical cape that if you wear it, you can do actual magic. It doesn't really work well with the horror elements, you know? It just feels too corny for me. And it's told in a very serious way. Maybe it would have been better if they would have went all in with the cheesiness, but no. We follow this like investigation with the cops and his assistant, this magician's assistant, after finding out that Dante, the magician, who's a great magician, he's putting on these sold out shows all the time, but you're finding out that he may be involved in these murders, and the cops are trying to figure out what's going on in that. And it's interesting that they use different camera. It's not just handheld camera of the magician, but we also get the cameras in the rooms where they're doing the investigation with the cops and everything. So that was kind of cool. And we get this really awesome action scene near the end with the SWAT coming in to take out Dante, and he's just using his magic to take them out. And you get this really cool shot of the cop thinking that he got him with his gun, but Dante ends up becoming one of the other cops. Even takes off the helmet. He's one of them now, and it's just really cool stuff. But we don't get a whole lot of that type of action. If it would have been like that the whole entire time, that would have been badass, and it would have been not mixed, and it would have been a good segment for me. But you only get a tiny bit of coolness, and the fight with him and his assistant at the very end, the girl, and how they're both kind of using the cape back and forth, stealing it from each other and using a little magic. And I do like how she gets him in the end by something he taught her, how to use sleight of hand and tie someone up. And she ends up doing that to get the cape away from him and get rid of him. I thought that was great. But then the way it ends, it's such a cheesy jump scare with her having the cape in her closet. After burying it, it ends up in her closet. Or does she burn it? I don't know. It doesn't matter. It's not a great segment to begin with anyway. But yeah, it ends up back in her closet, needless to say, and it ends with this cheap little jump scare of these little demon hands coming out. And it's like, come on, don't ruin it with shitty digital effects. But this one, not great, not bad. I'm kind of in the middle on it. But for me, easily coming in the first place in this movie is Parallel Monsters. This one is actually a decent segment, directed by the guy who made Time Crimes. Guy's from Spain. His name is Nacho Vigalondo. Sorry if I butchered that name, but I really enjoy Time Crimes. I have it in my collection. Obviously, it's in Spanish, just like the director is from Spain. So this segment is in Spanish as well. You get subtitles, but that's fine. I don't mind that. And right away, it kind of caught my interest with this guy who builds a door, this high-tech door that can, when he opens it and he runs it, it opens up a parallel universe, or so he thinks. And he opens it up, and there's him standing at the other side who also built a door in that universe. They both open it at the same time, and they decide to switch lives for 15 minutes and arrive back at the door, just as like a little experiment. And at first, it seems pretty normal. Everything just seems mirrored. Like if you look in a mirror, everything's backwards, the reflection, and that's the same in the other universe. Like his house, if the stairs were on the right, they'd be on the left this time. But besides that, everything seems fairly normal until he runs into his wife, and things just get more bizarre and more bizarre. In the real world, his wife is in bed sleeping. In this world, she's up and she's like, "Oh, you're gonna join us tonight?" And she has these other two dudes with her, and you're like, "Is this gonna be like a weird sexual thing?" But no, it gets even worse. You find out that they're like demonic, kind of. They're into these weird rituals. They got like this bag hanging with like bloody organs in it or something in the living room, and there's like the snuff film playing on TV, and he is just so confused by what's going on because he's starting to realize this isn't a parallel universe. There's things about it that's close, but it's completely different. And you find out that this world is run by this like Satanist group, right? The world is run by that. And these are more like demons. Their eyes can light up and give you terrible digital effects when their eyes light up and stuff. But I'm glad to keep that at a minimal. For the most part, it's pretty not no digital effects. It's pretty straightforward. But yeah, he goes out in this world, and these people start to suspect him because he's acting weird. And then when their eyes start glowing in that, his doesn't. And then the movie gets very bizarre. I wasn't ready for this watching it. It was kind of like a jaw-dropping moment. You find out that these people in this world have giant monster penises. Like literally monsters. Like it has teeth and everything. And they're huge. Like bigger than this webcam. And yeah, it's just so weird. And he runs away from those guys, goes back in the house, sees his wife from this world, and then you find out she has a huge ass vagina with teeth. And you're like, so this is very weird, this world. He freaks out, he punches her in the face, and runs down the basement to go back through the door. And at the same time, he's meeting the other guy. And the other guy's like, and he's like, "What did you do to my wife?" And he won't say nothing. They end up like getting into a little fight. Sends him back through the door, and he runs into that crazy wife with the teeth vagina. And it's just so bizarre, so out there, and I don't know what to think of it. It was good. I was creative. I enjoy it for that, but it's just so bizarre. I love the ending though. How he's yelling for his wife, and you don't hear her, and you're like, God, is she dead? Is she what? And she keeps showing up at the end, full of cuts and marks, and she ends up starting to stab her husband, her real husband, to death because she thinks it was him that went upstairs while she was sleeping, took a bunch of pictures of her, and then tried to rape her or molest her or whatever with his huge monster penis with teeth and all this. And obviously that's where she got all the cuts and all banged up from. But yeah, just such an interesting segment. Not the best in the VHS franchise, but definitely the best in VHS Viral. And all these segments, I guess, were connected through people trying to find fame, through recording different things. I'm guessing this guy was through his invention. The skateboarders in the other segment was, obviously skateboarding, finding a cool secret spot. So they were all like connected in that viral way, but doesn't mean they were all good. But this one definitely stood out to me and was easily the best in this movie. There's not much more to say. It was weird as hell, but I enjoyed it for the most part, so it easily comes in the first place in VHS Viral. So there you have it, guys. There's my ranking of all 5 segments from VHS Viral. I've always heard that this was bad, but damn, this is terrible. This probably was the last one that went to theaters because I know they're direct to video nowadays, and I see why if it was the last one that went to theaters, because it just feels so amateur. It even for found footage, it feels cheap. And they're just not good stories. They're not executed well, and they're just not good, except for one. Except for Parallel Monsters, I think that was a great segment. But it suffered from being hella bizarre. So like I said earlier, drop your segment ranking down in the comment section. Tell me what you think of VHS Viral. Do you actually enjoy this one? There's not a whole lot here to enjoy. Overall, I'd probably give it like a 3 out of 10, and I feel like I'm being generous there. But there you have it, guys. I'll be back with the next VHS segment ranking soon. And until next time, thanks for watching.